Welcome to On Cloud, the podcast for cloud professionals, where we break down the state of cloud computing today and how you can unleash the power of cloud for your enterprise. Now, here's your host, David Linthicum.
Welcome back to the On Cloud podcast. Today on the show, enjoyed by Skaneshi Pandey, data analyst and Google Cloud. Skaneshi, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, David. I'm so thrilled to be here and to talk with all the folks on the podcast.
Yeah, it's great to have you here too. I was just, looking at your LinkedIn profile before we got on the podcast, for, such a young person, great career that you've gotten into so far. And we're going to get into that and also get into a few topics. So give us the story. Where'd you come from? How'd you get to Google? What are you doing now? What are your interests in?
Absolutely, David. So I'm an immigrant. I'm currently based in Seattle, United States, and I was born and brought up in India. That's where I did my bachelor's in computer science, and I moved to United States in 2014 to pursue my master's. And as soon as I graduated, I started my first job at Amazon.com as a software engineer. So I worked for the forecasting team, and that is where I fell into working with cloud and in data analytics. So I enjoyed writing code for 3 years. And after 3 years, I realized that I'm looking for a lot more thought leadership and a lot more communication opportunities in my day-to-day work. And that is when I discovered tech sales, and I found out about this role called solutions architect. And it sounded really interesting. It was something that really aligned with my thought leadership and communication goals. So I switched from engineering to tech sales, and I became a solution architect for Amazon Web Services. I worked as a solution architect for 3 years, and I spent 5 full years working for Amazon. And at that point in my career, I realized that I need to go out and explore the world outside Amazon. But at the same time, data analytics and cloud computing were at the heart of what I wanted to do. So Google Cloud made the most sense. So almost about 2 years back, I moved to Google and I started working as a customer engineer with focus on data analytics. And here I am today. I'm a data analytics leader and a specialist, and I work for Google Cloud. My primary work is to help organizations migrate their data to cloud, build their data pipelines, and derive insights from the data using the power of cloud.
So what drove you to data analytics versus, focusing on compute, distributed computing systems, things like that? What was the allure of data?
So as I said, my first job was in forecasting, and that is where my team was responsible for developing the platform on which machine learning algorithms ran. So when I say platform, we managed Hadoop clusters. I wrote Spark applications, data pipelines to massage the data and then make it usable by the machine learning team. I really enjoyed that work, and it brought me a lot of excitement being able to convert the data and to make it useful. So that is why I aligned my career more towards data analytics.
So I love the role of solution architect. I think that's kind of the best way to describe it. Talk about tech sales and things like that, but the ability to kind of have somebody who's able to make the creative innovations around linking specific technologies to how it's going to solve business problem is not only something that's nice to have, it's absolutely a necessity. And certainly even working with the architecture team and the development team at the enterprise level, they need to have somebody who's able to say, okay, what about these data analytics features that your cloud offers or any technology offers? How does it link with AI? And how does it link in to solve some of the problems we're looking to solve? And the ability to kind of make those maps is absolutely critical to being successful with this technology. You found the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. I found out the same thing. And I realized that tech sales is more about, finding what is the outcome that the business wants to achieve, and then seeing how we can fit in technology right inside to help the customers solve those challenges.
So what are some of the questions that you ask customers when they're looking at technology, looking to leverage technology, as to what the objectives are that kind of lead you down a path as to how technology is going to be implemented, or patterns or solution patterns are able to leverage around the technology?
So being a solution architect, you not only get to be technical, but you also get to put a foot inside the business side of things. So I have had a chance to work with CTOs CFOs, CISOs in my career, and each of them had a different problem or a different outcome that they were looking to get out of with technology. So, for example, when I've spoken to CFOs, their primary motivation is to cut down the costs and to become more cost efficient, to help the organization improve their revenue model. I've spoken to CTOs. Their primary goal is to get innovation in the organization and to ensure that they remain on top with technology. They don't fall behind as compared to their competition. Directors and VPs of ITs their primary goal is to ensure that operational burden of their teams is reduced and how they can get maximum efficiency out of the team. So these are a few patterns that I've seen across business and how they want to leverage cloud and technology in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I love the response to that and the fact they have different answers for different aspects of the business. And in other words, people who are focused on operations, people who are focused on revenue growth, people are focused on the strategic use of technology to bring more value back to the business, and really kind of defining what the technology ultimately is going to mean for them, because that's a better answer than saying, well, it's just going to do good for the business. Well, why? How? What are you going to do? What incrementally can you do to add value into these systems? And why am I leveraging cloud over some of the on-premise systems, and kind of answering those questions? I think it's an imperative right now. And you kind of framed it in a great way. I thought that ultimately different aspects or different values that kind of come out of how you're going to answer these questions. So what can others learn about the solution architect path? What are some of the skills they would need to do it? What kind of motivated you and gets you excited about it?
So let me first start by talking about how I actually got into tech sales. So it all started when I was an engineer. I was trying to understand more about this NoSQL database, and I came across a YouTube video. And the speaker of the video, I got so inspired and so into the video. The speaker was really captivating. He went from 100 level to 400 level, and he gave a really gripping presentation. After I saw that presentation, I told myself, I want to be doing exactly what that guy did. I want to talk about technology, go from 100 to 400 level, but at the same time, be great at that communication. So that is how I began my journey. And when I looked up more about that person, I figured out that they are a solution architect. And then I got curious about the role, and I decided to move into that direction. Now, here's the thing. I was a software engineer. I already had hands-on experience with cloud. So I was technically very, very strong when it went to with respect to cloud. But I had never worked with any external customers. So I was lacking the sales acumen required for the job. So I had to work a lot. I had to train myself a lot to develop that sales acumen. I read a lot of books. I got mentors who helped me up on the sales acumen side. I also shadowed a lot of senior architects when they had calls with their customers to learn about how they talk to customers and how they talk. Even though in spite of being technical, they talk to non-technical audience. So I had to put in a lot of work. And after that, I think my journey was pretty smooth. I was technical. I developed sales acumen, and I started killing it, at my job. Now, here is what I want to share with people about moving into the tech sales domain. The first learning is tech sales is more about breadth and less about depth. So what this means is, as an engineer, I went in depth into a few products. I knew each and every API. I knew best practices. I knew monitoring. I knew logging, all those things. As a solution architect, you are expected to have a high level knowledge of not just one or not just five, but 10 or 20 products. So breadth is really important as compared to depth. Learning number 2 is the cloud domain is changing super fast. Cloud providers are adding new and new products, new and new features to the existing products. So you have to keep up. You need to stay up to date with the market. Learning number 3, get certified. A certification helps you build your trust when you talk to your customers. You don't always have to go and get a professional level certification, but at least even a foundational level cloud certification based on your role definitely helps. What you need to remember is it is about sales, but it is in the tech domain, and certifications help you establish your tech credibility. My learning number 4 is you have to always it's an art that you learn how to influence people and how to be good at communication. So it happens as time passes, you get better and better at it. But always remember that it is one skill that you always need to keep working on.
And also, I love the fact you talked about the breadth of understanding, because ultimately architects have to understand a lot about a lot of things. It may not have to go in depth. In other words, not have an API to API comparison and analytics between one cloud service and another, but the ability to kind of understand what they do. And to your point, explain it to a customer in English terms so they can understand where the value can be gotten on this particular technology. This is why we're leveraging it. This is the business reason that we're doing it. And this is the mechanism we're going to employ that's going to get us to the end game, to adding more revenue and adding more value to the business. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's pretty spot on, David.
So let's talk about data analytics, and talking about it as a problem space. Been looking at this kind of grow for a number of years, and the ability to kind of understand how information is core to the importance to the business, and the ability to get information right and get to analytics right, put the proper processes around it, is going to provide much more value for the amount of money being spent on both technology and people than I think any other investment in technology. And certainly people with the rise of AI and now generative AI, things like that, you really can't separate AI-based technology and data. They're codependent, lack of a better word, but you need data to have good AI, you need AI to have good data. But this ultimately is rising up in the importance of the enterprises out there in terms of how to leverage data in a way that's going to be a massive force multiplier for the business. What's your take on the data analytics problem?
Absolutely. I 100% agree with the growth of generative AI and everything. But I think the key problem is that I have a lot of data, but I want to get value out of the data. And that's exactly what customers say, that they have these huge databases, data stores, data warehouses, but they fail to get any actionable insights from the data. And I'm going to talk about a few key challenges that I have seen with the customers on what, hampers them or hampers their innovation. The first one is they do not have sophisticated data teams in place who can help them convert their data by building a pipeline into something actionable, who can help them cleanse the data and get meaning out of the data. That's one thing, lack of a sophisticated data team. Another problem that I've seen with customers in the data analytics world is they have a lot of internal teams, and these internal teams do a great job of managing their own data or their own databases. But at the same time, these teams don't talk to each other and they end up with a data silo. So they have all this data, but it is all siloed and no one knows anything about the data of another team. And no one knows how to holistically get value out of that data. The third problem that I've seen is data quality. So data quality is when the customer has a lot of data, they have to spend in or put in efforts to ensure that that data is accurate. Sometimes that same data is duplicated in multiple data stores. And at the end of the day, they just want one source of truth of accurate data in their system. Other than that, I have seen that customers struggle a lot when it comes to data governance. So this means putting proper governance policies in place to ensure that your data is compliant, and even inside the organization, you have applied correct policies to ensure right people have right access to the data. And the last thing that I feel that really hampers customers is ending up with monolithic, data lakes or monolithic data warehouses. Because what happens is, in theory, a data lake is like an unlimited, store for all structured, unstructured. But what happens is, as the volume keeps on growing and growing, it becomes increasingly difficult to manage, scale, apply security, and actually get meaning out of the data. So I think these are some top issues that I'm seeing with customers when it comes to data analytics.
So what types of technologies are we talking about with data analytics? What are we looking at specifically? Obviously databases, but what else is in there?
So I think that this is, again, a new term. It's called data mesh. So a data mesh architecture is basically, it's a framework in which you treat data as a product. So what happens with data mesh is, the main ideology is that the data is owned and managed by the team or by the domain that creates it. So what this helps with is your data ownership is decentralized. It breaks that monolithic data store problem. And at the same time, the individuals who are, managing the data are the best people who know how to apply governance on them and how to make it best quality. And on top of that, another principle that I love about data mesh is the self-serve data platform. So what happens is the teams are not only responsible for creating data, massaging it, applying proper governance on it, but they're also responsible for making it searchable and making it available to another teams in their organization. So this not only helps with all the issues that I mentioned before, but it also helps with innovation, because now if the data is searchable and available within the organization, it will help organizations innovate faster.
So what's the future? Where's all this going? What are we being talking about in 5 years in terms of data analytics? What's going to be the important technology?
So I think with respect to data and technology, I have three key things that I really believe in. So of course, the goal is put a proper data analytics framework in place and get your data. But what excites me is these three things. The first one is generative AI. We have all seen the buzz that it's created in the industry. It has almost, become a virtual assistant that everyone has on their phone or the laptop. But I think it has a super bright future, and it is going to evolve almost all functions. So for example, software engineers, their jobs will evolve and they'll now spend less time writing simple software, more time on developing the generative AI itself. I think it has a very bright future when it comes to creating art, creating music, creating or designing clothes. And I think it is also going to really help the medical field as well when it comes to developing new drugs, developing new medicines, and finding cures to a lot of diseases. Another thing I feel is I really love how we are moving towards a little bit of a more Web3 culture. I love how it brings, a decentralization in place where users are primarily responsible, or they own their own data and they decide who they want to share their data with. That is really promising. And I think it has a great future. And the last place is I really love how we are going ahead with this virtual reality and AR, VR world. I think it is already changing the way people play games and educations, but I also think that it has a very bright future in giving you all those virtual experiences just from your home. So I can't really wait to see all these things in the future.
So the final topic I'd like to cover with you, and you belong to a very cool organization, Women Who Code. Tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So Women Who Code is a non-profit global organization, and their mission is to inspire women to excel in tech careers. So not only build tech careers, but also excel in them. So Women Who Code does a lot of events that includes like coding workshops, boot camps, mentorship programs, conferences. They do all these events. Most of these events are free of cost. And the goal is to, get women excited about technology and help them move up the ladder in the technology world. I currently work in Women Who Code as their cloud track lead. So I am the lead of the cloud chapter in Women Who Code, and I help them plan and execute these awesome events that I spoke about before that they do. That's what I do. And Women Who Code is completely free to join. You can check them out by visiting their website. You can become a member and you can find the local chapter near you and you can start getting involved.
Absolutely. Join her support. So where can our listeners find out more about you on the web and keep tabs on you?
So people can find me on LinkedIn. My handle is Hello Sonakshi. And they can also look me up on social media like YouTube. My channel is called Talk Tech with Sonakshi.
Great. Yeah, look her up. Smart person, knows her stuff, and ultimately we'll be hearing a lot back from her as her career progresses. So I'm looking forward to that. So if you enjoy this podcast, make sure to like us, rate us, and subscribe. You can also check out our past episodes, including those hosted by my good friend Mike Cavas. Find out more at DeloitteCloudPodcast.com, all one word. If you'd like to contact me directly, you can email me at dlinthicum, that's LINTHICUM, @Deloitte.com. So until next time, best of luck with your cloud journey. You guys stay safe. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to On Cloud for Cloud Professionals with David Linthicum. Connect with David on Twitter and LinkedIn, and visit the Deloitte on Cloud blog at Deloitte.com/US Deloitte-on-cloud-blog. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. This podcast is produced by Deloitte. The views and opinions expressed by podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Deloitte. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice or services of any kind. For additional information about Deloitte, go to deloitte.com/about.